Unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. What an honor. What an honor. Amazing people, Ohio. You know, I worked in Ohio. You do know that. A lot. We had a great success in Ohio. I love Ohio. I love the people of Ohio. Thank you all very much. And Ohio, we have to win Ohio. Thank you. Thank you. So, you know, I really had an interesting time because I'm coming up and I'm watching television and they are hitting me at that convention, Trump, Trump, and they're going a little crazy because we're leading now in the polls. We're leading. We're leading. They're going crazy. They don't know what to do. This was not supposed to happen. Crooked Hillary Clinton, she's not doing very well. Not doing well. It's amazing. Ooh. Let's just win. Let's just win. November 8th, we're going to win. That's the ultimate, okay? November 8th. You've got to get out. You've got to vote. We've got to win. We've got to win big. We've got such opposition. The press is totally dishonest. Well, 25% are okay. And we have to fight it. We do. We have to fight the dishonesty of the press. We have to fight a lot of things. But, you know, we do better when we have to fight. We do better when we, you know, when we started this journey on June 16th, so I had 17 people all together, and one by one, and they said that we as a group, because this is really a movement like you've never seen before, folks, like you've never seen. You know, outside, they have more than 5,000 people trying to get in, and this is a big arena. So they're putting loudspeakers out there, but I tell you what, it has been such an honor. You know, I tell people I'm the messenger. I'm doing a very good job as the messenger, but I'm the messenger. And I'm the messenger of common sense. I'm the messenger of this, like, let's be smart. Let's not be the stupid people anymore. We are led down the drain. Look, we have numbers, and I always do this. I like to do it. And Toledo, we like Toledo, right? We like Toledo. That's the good news, all right? But look at this. Ohio has lost 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs since Bill Clinton signed the agreement. Terrible. And by the way,
give me 1 second. It looks like this feed is really laggy. Let me try to find something a lot better. Hold on.
From an economic standpoint, probably the worst agreement ever signed in the history of this country, perhaps in the history of the world. There's never been anything like this. Now they want to go TPP. You know what's going on. Sign it. In a million years, she won't sign it. Right? Except her number 1 person in the world, perhaps beyond her husband even, and I thought he did okay last night, not great, but he left out the best chapter. He didn't talk, and that's okay. I agree. He should have left that chapter out, right? But look, TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, one of the worst things, it will be worse than NAFTA. And Hillary Clinton said it's the gold standard. It will drain your jobs out of this area, out of Ohio and out of Toledo, like you've never seen before. And by the way, Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, there's nobody closer to Hillary Clinton. He said, don't worry about it. If she gets elected, she'll sign it. You know what happened is she was totally in favor, called it the gold standard. Then when she heard me speaking about it, she said, I can't beat him in a debate on this subject. So she went against it. But as soon as she gets elected, she will sign it 100%. And Terry McAuliffe said that. Now he took it back. Oh, I was only kidding, right? It would be a disaster for Ohio. It would be a disaster for Toledo. We can't let it happen. And the one way you know it's not going to happen is to elect Donald Trump. Okay? Not going to happen. All right? Not going to happen. So Toledo has lost 1 in 4 manufacturing jobs. Last year, the U.S. deficit with TPP countries, listen to this, translated into 112,000 jobs lost in Ohio. Think of it. This is what they're doing. So can you imagine what's going to happen if TPP is done? No good. You can't have it, all right? When you look at the jobs lost in the Toledo region, 4,350. I'm not telling you anything, but you want to stay here, right? Don't move. Don't move. Help is on its way. Help is on its way. Don't move. You don't want to move. Last year, at least 4,350 jobs in the Toledo region have moved to Mexico. Since 2001, you lost 4,350 jobs. The labor force in Ohio is smaller today than it was in 2000, and the number of unemployed people is larger. You've heard that, right? Since 2000, median household income in Ohio has declined by $9,000. Come on, folks, let's get going. Let's go. That's not good. That's no good. That's no good. So look at it. Since 2000, the number of people on food stamps in Ohio has nearly tripled. What's going on? It's pretty depressing. Don't worry, we're going to get to the good stuff because we're going to fix it, all right? It's like the other night, they said, the haters, most people said the speech was really good, but the haters said it was dark. That's all they could say. They even said delivery, everything was good, but it was dark. It wasn't dark. You know what it was? It was very optimistic. I said what the problem was, and I said we're going to fix it, right? And that's what it is. I don't believe this. Nearly 1 in 5 people in Toledo are living below the poverty line. No good. No good. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't sell that house. Help is on its way in the form of Donald Trump. All right, I'm not going to go. I could go on for days. I have like 5 pages. It's too depressing. You'll walk out of here and say, that was the most depressing speech I've ever heard. From 2013 to 2014, the number of drug-related overdose deaths in Ohio increased by 20%, right? You know about that. Build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, right? Right, build the wall. Build the wall. We're going to build the wall. We're going to build a wall. Crazy. It's crazy. So we're going to do a lot of things. And believe me, this is, other than what I had to read you the statistics, right? Because we have to start off. But this is an election of optimism. Now, Hillary Clinton is saying change. She's been doing this for 30 years. She's not going to change anything. She's totally controlled by the lobbyists and by the special interests. Folks, she's not going to change anything. And by the way, the system was totally rigged against Bernie Sanders. Totally rigged. 100%. And Bernie is exhausted. Bernie just wants to go home and go to sleep. Bernie. He's had it. Bernie's had it. And honestly, from a standpoint of legacy, because he had a good thing going. Now, his crowds, by the way, were much, much, much smaller than mine. That's the good news. But he was second above any other Republican. But our crowds are beyond. Nobody's seen. You know what? And I say it all the time. We've been on the cover of Time magazine so much over the last year that it's almost like I don't even read the stories anymore. It's like all my life being on the cover of Time magazine, that was a big deal. I was like 1 or 2 times in my lifetime. And I've been, I think, 6 or 7 times in the last year. So you tell me, which is more important, real estate or politics? I think it's probably politics, right? But what it really is making America great. That's what it really is, not just politics. Because we have a movement going on. And Time magazine said it, and everybody else said it, and even these very dishonest people back here, they said it. No, they say it. And, by the way, that's a lot of cameras going on considering we have a Democratic convention, right? That's a lot of things. But, you know, it's really pretty good. Somebody asked me at a news conference this morning, they said, Mr. Trump, this is a very unusual campaign. You're not supposed to be working today, the day of a convention. I said, why not? Well, it's very unconventional. So we'll call it an unconventional convention. But they said, it's very unconventional. And it was very unconventional the way you ran in the primaries. I said, yeah, I know, but here I am, right? Here we are. And we won in a landslide. We won it. So somebody said, I know you're starting to lead now. I said, not starting. We're leading by a lot. We're actually leading by a lot. And we're leading in Ohio by 3 points. We're leading in Ohio. We're leading in Ohio. And I think we're going to win Ohio. We're going to win Pennsylvania. I just left Pennsylvania. Just left Scranton, Pennsylvania. And by the way, Pennsylvania has the same problem as Ohio. The jobs are being sucked out of Pennsylvania. They're being sucked out of Ohio. They're being sucked out of Michigan, New England, every place because of NAFTA and other things. Our taxes are too high. My tax plan lowers taxes more than any other plan of any candidate that's run for the office of president, Republican or Democrat. We have to. We have to. We're the highest tax nation just about in the entire world, okay? And nobody knows that more than the middle class. And the middle class is suffering in this country. You know, the middle class built the United States. It really did. It built the United States. And our politicians forgot about the middle class, all right? They forgot about the middle class. They took care of wealthy people like me. I am not complaining, I'll be honest with you. It's ridiculous. Actually, it's ridiculous. But I'm going to help you. We're going to help you. We're going to help you. We're going to help you. It's unfair. It's a rigged system. It's a broken system. It's an unfair system. And it's unfair to people that work so hard. You know, they call it the forgotten man and woman. But the forgotten man and woman, they're forgotten. 18 years, when you look, 18 years ago, you made more money in real terms than you're making today. You didn't work as hard, and you were a lot younger. And in many cases today, because of Obamacare, which we're going to repeal and replace, in many cases, I mean, what's happening, you have part-time jobs. Who has a part-time job? You don't have to raise your hand if you're embarrassed, but don't be embarrassed. It means you're working hard. But who has part-time jobs? People that never had part-time jobs before are being forced into part-time work because of Obamacare. It's insane. We're going to repeal it. We're going to replace it with something much better and much less expensive, okay? That's going to happen. So a year ago, President Obama said, Donald Trump will not become the president. They also said Donald Trump wouldn't get the nomination. You remember? They said Donald Trump will not run. Then they said, well, he ran. And then I started off with 6%. Not bad. You know, it was only a half a week, right? So I started off with 6. I went to 12, went to 18, went to 20. Then I went to 24, then I went to 26, then I went to 29. And every time I'd go up, they'd say, the pundits, well, that's a ceiling. He won't go any higher. Week after week, I was driving these poor people crazy. Week after week. And the crowds were massive right from the beginning. We had the biggest crowds. We went to Mobile, Alabama. We had 35,000 people. We have these incredible crowds. We were driving them crazy. But every single week, I'd go up. And then we had one place where I had 38%, and I think we had like 11 or 12 people. You know, don't forget, we had 11 or 12 people. And when you get 38 with 11 or 12 people, that's almost impossible. And then I had one where I had 48, and we had like 7 or 8 people. 48% with all of these people. And the pundits were saying, he hasn't broken 50. What are we going to do? Abraham Lincoln could not have broken 50. And then a couple of more guys came out. And all of a sudden we just went. And we had 78% in California. We had a massive landslide in New York. Massive in Pennsylvania. We did great in Ohio. If I had 2 more days, we would have won Ohio. 2 more days. 2 more days of campaigning. We did great in Ohio. But 2 more days of campaigning, I would have won Ohio. What happened is I was in Florida. I was doing great in Florida. And then they came out with what you call a dirty poll. It was done by NBC. And you know what a dirty poll? That's a poll that perhaps, let's not say, in my opinion, I'll say it this way, in my opinion, it was a phony poll, all right? And I thought I'd win it easily. And they had a headline, Donald Trump down to 6 points. I said, oh, no, I have to stay. So I stayed in Florida, campaigned, and I won by a massive amount, much more than anticipated. I won't go into it because I'm running against a guy who now he just endorsed me, and he was very nice, so I'm not going to go in. But I won big, like real big, like many, many times that poll. But because of the dirty poll, I had to stay in Florida and campaign for 2 more days. If I would have come to Ohio for 2 more days, we would have won Ohio too. We would have won Ohio. But now is the real one, because it doesn't matter, because I had 38 states plus the islands, 42, 44, something like that, and won more votes than anybody in the history of the Republican Party. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Pretty good. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have it right now, because the system is set for politicians to win. And the last thing we need is another politician. Do we agree? The last thing. So it's been an amazing experience. So now we started off with essentially one person. I mean, these other 2 people, forget it. Although I think a vote for Stein would be good. You know, it's the Green Party. Because I figure anybody voting for Stein is going to be for Hillary. So I think vote for Stein is fine. And the other guy, I don't know what his story is. I watched him the other day on television. I don't quite get that. But what we have to do, no, say nice things about your governor. You have to do that, right? Huh? Oh, he was very nasty to your governor. No, we don't want that. But look, we are going to do things like have never been done before. And the reason that Bill O'Reilly and so many others, but Bill O'Reilly said that what has happened to Donald Trump is the single biggest political phenomena that he's witnessed in his life. It's pretty good. And many people have said that. Many people have said that. And by the way, speaking of phenomena, I'd like to introduce you to somebody who is very, very special, who gave a great, great speech the other night at the convention. And I'm a little prejudiced because he's my son, Eric Trump. Eric, come up here, Eric.
Wow. Well, guys, thank you. Well, first of all, we're going to win in November, just to make sure everybody knows that. Second of all, we had the greatest week in Ohio last week. We had the greatest time. My father knocked it out of the park. We had a blast as a family, so thank you for the hospitality. But guys, we are so proud of our father, honestly. This guy has meant more to me than any person in the world. He's been the greatest father in the world, and I wish him tremendous luck. And there is no question in my mind that we will win this and we will make America great again. Thank you.
He did a great job the other night. Did a great, great job. Remember this, and I was talking to Eric on the way over. Whoever wins this election may be the most important. You know, every year they say, every 4 years they say it's the most important. This may be the most important election for many, many, many decades. This could be, and just remember this, and most people have come, we actually have a very unified party, believe it or not. You saw that the other night when people went absolutely crazy in love. They want a unified party. But remember this is so important to remember. Supreme Court justices. That's all. That's all you have to think. That's all you have to think. If for no other reason, you've got to get me, because I'm the one. But we lost a great justice in Scalia. Great guy. And we have to replace Judge Scalia with justices of the Supreme Court like him. If Hillary Clinton gets in, she is now so far left that we're never going to have a country again. We're going to end up being Venezuela. We're going to end up being Venezuela. So when I see certain people, and there are very few, but when they're not on board, all it means is this. It's Trump or Clinton. It's nobody else. It's Trump or Clinton. And we have to remember Supreme Court justices. We put out a list because I'm not a politician. So some conservative people were a little bit skeptical, and I can understand that. They said, well, how about if he puts liberal judges on? Well, it's not like our presidents have done such a great job. Not like they've done such a great job. I mean, we had 2 chances to knock out Obamacare, and we had an appointment of somebody, I won't say, but the appointment didn't work out too well. Didn't work out too well because, shockingly, they approved, essentially, they allowed Obamacare to go forward twice. Should have never happened. So, now in all fairness, sometimes you pick a judge, doesn't work out. That's happened. Numerous of them over the last 25 years, that's happened. We're going to pick great judges. We're going to pick conservative judges. We're going to pick judges of values like you have. And again, let's say national security is always number one and all, and we have to say that. But here we have a case. And this particular president coming up could have 3, it could have 4, and it could even have 5 justices. Will probably set an all-time record for the number of justices of the Supreme Court. And if you put Hillary Clinton in there, the country will never recover, but it would literally take 75 to 100 years to recover. So you have to get out and you have to think just that. So when you have somebody, and we don't have many people, I'm telling you, you don't have many of those people, but just tell them, justices of the Supreme Court. So remember that, okay? Just remember that. Now, remember, so important. Doesn't sound exciting. To me, it's very exciting. It's so important. So important. You have to remember. All right. So, you saw what happened in France with the beloved priest who was throat cut by ISIS. ISIS related. Throat cut. That's true. Throat cut. This is what's happening now. There's never been anything like it. You saw Nice. And I said today, I'll be honest, it's a horrible thing to say, but they better get their act together also. But we're letting in thousands and thousands and thousands of people from supposedly Syria. Wait till you see what's going to happen. And Hillary Clinton wants to let in 550% more exactly than Obama's letting in. But I have a friend, he used to like France, used to. And he was going to France. And I said, how's your trip going? He goes, where? France. He said, I'm not going to France. Because France is no longer France, okay? It's no longer France. And other places are no longer other places. And I'll tell you what, you look at what's going on here. You have a World Trade Center, you have Orlando, where they killed in that case because he didn't like gays. And they killed all of these people, young people, and killed them. And San Bernardino, where they came in and radicalized. She was probably radicalizing him. She radicalized him. And they went out, they shot 14 people that gave them a party for their child when their child was born. Gave them a party, and then they went in and shot him. And many, many people wounded. And you had Paris, 130 people killed, and hundreds of people still in the hospital. They went in and shot him. And just boom, boom, boom. And if there was ever a case for the Second Amendment, you look at some of these things. You look at some of these things. I mean, as an example, in San Bernardino, if we had one or two like you or like you, but if we had a couple of people right here having a gun, and these maniacs came in shooting, and you go boom, boom, and you know what? If they thought you had a gun, they probably wouldn't have showed up in the first place, okay? So we're going to protect our Second Amendment. And the National Rifle Association, the NRA, gave me a very, very great and early endorsement. I think the earliest endorsement they've ever given. And they're very good people. They're very good people. Wayne and Chris, I've gotten to know them. These are people that love our country. These are good people. These are people that love our country. But they see what's happening. And we have to protect our Second Amendment, okay? We have to. Now, we also have to have borders. Because people are pouring across different people. But people are pouring across our borders. And whether it's Syria, and you don't know what's coming across our southern border. Because people don't even know. It's a very weak spot. And yet I had 16,500 Border Patrol agents. Unbelievable people. They endorsed me. And today they did something very negative toward Hillary Clinton. And I'll tell you, you know what I respect about them? They endorse me. That means they're going to have to work hard. They don't have to endorse me. It's easier for them to stand there and let everybody walk right in front of them. Stand back. They go, stand back. You're not allowed to touch. You're not allowed to do anything. Those days are over, folks. They're over. They're over. They're over. They are over. We're going to build that wall. We're going to build that wall. And it's going to be a real wall. You know, a lot of politicians, they say, Donald, between you and I, you're really not serious about building the wall, are you? I said, why? You can't build a wall like that. So, the wall is 2,000, but you don't need 2. You need really 1,000 miles. It's really 2, but you have a lot of natural barrier and a lot of things. So the wall is 1,000 miles, right? Believe me, so easy. You build buildings, this is like easy. But the wall is 1,000 miles, right? So in China, 2,000 years ago, they built one hell of a wall, the Great Wall of China, 13,000 miles long, 13,000. 13,000 miles long. Built 2,000 years ago. But I'm going to make it even better, okay? So we're going to make it better. We're going to make it better. But these politicians would come up to me and they'd say, you really can't build a wall. Do you know how easy that is? You know how easy that is? You build buildings 92 stories, 98 stories. Walls are so easy. That'll go up like magic. It'll go up like magic. I can just see it now. Beautiful precast plank, all beautiful. Sucked right into a foundation, beautiful. Boom. Boom. Beautiful. And we're going to make that wall as beautiful as a wall can be, because someday maybe they'll name it after Trump. No, I'm all. But it's going to be big, it's going to be powerful. We're going to make it as architecturally attractive as we can make it. But we need it. And I asked when the Border Patrol, 16,500, when they endorsed me, I said to them, I'd like to ask you a question before we break up. I want to ask you a question. How important is the wall? And I'll never forget their answer. They said, Mr. Trump, it's very important. It's maybe the most important tool. It's another tool to stop people from coming across, to stop drugs from coming across. Because I want to tell you, we have drugs that are just destroying our youth, pouring across the southern border. Many, many states. In New Hampshire, which I won, I've never forgotten New Hampshire, because I see this beautiful place. The lakes and the trees and the beautiful little roadways, and it's just I love New Hampshire. And I won. It was my first victory. And then I won, boom. We won wild. We just kept winning. It's good to win. Is it good to win? But I've told this story. I went to the people of New Hampshire, and I said to them, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, let me ask you, what's your biggest problem? They said, heroin. I said, heroin? Because it didn't fit with like the image of New Hampshire. I said, heroin. That's your biggest problem? Heroin. Coming from the southern border, poisoning our youth and other people. And I said, if I win, I'm telling you folks, we're going to fix that problem. We're going to get it fixed. We're going to get it fixed. And they're not the only community. Who likes, have you heard, when I do the thing called the snake, has anyone ever heard that? How many people have heard it? Just tell me. Have you all heard it or not? So raise your hand if you've heard it, because I think it's great. Not that many. So for the people that have heard it, should I do it once tonight? I'd do it every week. All right. Big Al Wilson. So this was written years ago. And you have to think in terms of the border. And you have to think in terms of ISIS and people coming across the border when you hear this. I haven't done this in a long time. But I love it because it's so descriptive. So I'll do it? Yes? Should I? Yes. So think. The border, people coming across, bad things are going to happen. It's only a question of time. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, very, very poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Oh, well, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the broken snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a curvature of silk, and then laid him by the fireside with some honey and some milk. Now she hurried home from work that night. As soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the broken snake. Now she clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you certainly would have died. Now she stroked his pretty skin and then she kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you bit me. Heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Right? Right? That's it. That's what's going to happen, folks. I hate to tell you, folks. We can be nice. We can be soft. We can be wonderful. We can have a big, beautiful heart. We can talk about our Constitution, and I love our Constitution. But you know, our Constitution doesn't allow us to commit suicide, okay? We've got things that we really have to think very hard about. And we're talking about territories. We're talking about areas. We're not going to let these people in. We're not letting them in. Remember the snake. We're not going to let them in. And it doesn't take everybody. And I have a heart as big as anybody in this massive arena that's packed. I have a big heart. And we're going to build with other people's money because we owe $19 trillion. We're going to build safe havens. We're going to build safe havens in Syria. We're going to get the Gulf states to put up the money. They have nothing but money. And if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be there for 15 minutes. But we're not going to bring people into this country. We're bringing them in right now by the thousands, and we don't know who they are, where they come from. There's no documentation, and law enforcement... Hey, look, I've gone to the best. Law enforcement officials say there's no way of saying where the hell they come from. Okay? So we're going to be smart. We're going to be vigilant. We're going to be tough as hell. And we're going to be respected by the rest of the world. Look what happened in France. Look at what's going on in Germany. Look at what is going on in the world. The world's a different place. And it's all leadership. But we're taking in tens of thousands of people. And you watch. Remember this snake that I just read to you. Just remember it. Just say, I've been so right. Remember I said take the oil. I also said don't go in to Iraq. At the beginning, don't go into Iraq. You're going to destabilize the Middle East. All right, they went. Then I said take the oil. Take the oil. To the victor belong the spoils. I don't know if you call us a victor, but we certainly knocked the hell out of them. See, we weren't really the victor because the victor would have been if we never went in. You know, for years and years, forever, Iran was fighting Iraq. What was Iraq, essentially? And they were the same. Militarily, they were the same, right? They'd fight for 5 years. Back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. We'd read about it, little story. They had a fight. Then Saddam Hussein would drop some gas. Everybody would get angry. The other side would hit him with a little gas. Then they'd rest for a couple of years, right? Then they go back to fighting. But it was the same. 10 feet this way, 10 feet that way, fight, fight, fight. Then we went in and decimated one of the countries. We decimated. So they can't fight. And Iran, as sure as you're standing here, sorry, couldn't get your seats. There's just too many people, right? You don't mind standing, right? But as sure as you're here, Iran's already essentially taken over Iraq, okay? And they've taken over a lot of the areas, a lot of the oil, and they're going to take over the rest. And Iraq is reporting to Iran. And we're like the stupid people. We spent more than $2 trillion, thousands and thousands of lives. And you know what people don't understand is that Iraq has among the richest and best oil reserves in the world. They don't realize that. People don't realize that. So not only did Iran make a great deal with us on the $150 billion, that's peanuts, because we handed them Iraq that they've been after for years, but they couldn't do it because the armies or the military was the same. It was the same, but we decimated the one. Then Obama gets involved, and instead of taking his time and look, I didn't want to go in, but you don't move everybody out and announce the date. We're going to move out. In fact, the other side, they didn't believe him. They thought it was, a little con job. And then he moved out. They said, he's moving out. But they backed up. They didn't have to fight because he's moving. I couldn't believe. When I heard he was going to give a specific date and leave, can you imagine General George Patton or General Douglas MacArthur? They are right now, folks, spinning in their grave. We've been fighting this war for 15 years and we can't win it. And I will tell you, I didn't want to be there in the first place, but we can't let these animals go and chop off heads and drown people. We're going to knock them out. We're going to knock them out. And Hillary Clinton got us into the mess. Her policies got us into the mess. Whether it's Libya, look at the deal she's made. Everything she's made, you can't think of anything. She started the horrible Iran deal. It was finished off by somebody almost as bad as her, Secretary Kerry, who goes on a bicycle ride and breaks his leg. Here's a guy in the middle of a negotiation decides he wants to go into a bicycle race. 73 years old. I promise you, I give you my word, I will never enter a bicycle competition as long as I'm president. Never! Promise. So we're going to have law and order. Now, if you look at the convention on the Democrat side, they didn't have a flag. Did you notice on the stage? There was no flag. They didn't have the American flag. So we started complaining, and I started complaining, and then they ran a couple of flags, very small ones. They didn't want them to be too big, of course, right? But they didn't have the flag. They didn't have flag representation. Not good. Who else and what else haven't they been talking about? They haven't been talking about our police. They haven't been talking about our police. They haven't been talking about law and order. And our police and our law enforcement people are incredible people. We wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for them. They didn't talk about it. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. And what else didn't they talk about? Now they'll start talking about it tonight, I guess. But what else? They didn't talk about ISIS. They don't talk about ISIS. You know why? Because they caused the problem. And this guy has no idea how to fix the problem. But I know how to fix the problem, and we're going to fix the problem. We're going to fix it fast, okay? You watch. And just one other thing. So I've been complaining that the United States, which is being drained of its money, we have this massive military budget, massive, far greater than any other country. And everyone thinks, oh, isn't that wonderful? Except we're using it to protect other countries. And the other countries aren't reimbursing us for the billions and billions and billions of dollars that it costs, right? So that's got to change. So when I was asked a question about NATO, and again, I've been a businessman. I've been a really great businessman, right? But I've been a businessman. So I'm not like, I think I've become an expert on NATO. So you have 28 countries. 5 are paying their way. The rest of them aren't. And some are paying practically nothing. So I said, wait a minute. We're protecting these people. They're not paying us. Why aren't they paying us? Now, you don't hear that from the press. You don't hear that. You never hear that. They say, Donald Trump doesn't like NATO. First of all, I said, NATO's obsolete. And everybody smiled and they said, It's not obsolete. Then they realized I was right. I said it's obsolete because it really wasn't designed for terror. And the new threat is terror. So for 3 days they laughed. Then one of the experts on NATO said, Trump is right. And then, not so long ago, recently in the Wall Street Journal front page, NATO to develop a unit on terrorism. And I was only mentioned 1/3 of a sentence. Donald Trump was angry, they said. I was in a little tiny sentence. At least they mentioned my name. That's better. I mean, Hillary Clinton now all of a sudden said, we must renegotiate our trade deals. Where was she for the last 30 years? Okay? We must renegotiate. She said it yesterday. But I also said about NATO, I said, look, I'm fine with NATO. I think it's wonderful. But you have to pay. We're protecting all of these countries. We're picking up 73% of the cost to defend them. We're spending, think of this is like a magic act. We're spending our money to defend them. Now, okay, let's say it's fine to defend them. It's good. Got to pay. You got to pay. So the stories get written. Donald Trump doesn't like NATO. He wants to break up NATO. They don't mention you got to pay. And then these idiots say, it's ridiculous because Donald Trump doesn't realize we have a treaty. Yeah, we have a treaty and we'll protect them. But they have a treaty too. They got to pay. They forgot the second part. They forgot. No, they forgot. They forgot. And just so you know, I love the idea of NATO. I think NATO's great. But these countries, many of whom really can pay. Some are rich. But why should they pay the delinquent? In real estate, when I owned a job in Cincinnati, right, years ago with my father, somebody didn't pay the rent, you'd say they're delinquent. Well, these people are delinquent. They don't pay. You know why they don't pay? Nobody asked them for the money. I guarantee you. And you got some guy running the country, and they come in, they say, we owe the United States like $400 million. And the boss says, well, listen, did they ask for the money? No. When was the last time we paid? Many, many years ago. Just put the money away. Don't say anything. Okay? That's not going to happen. Do you know what impact that has on our numbers as a country? I mean, you're already, I told you, the highest tax nation just about in the world. And we're paying 73% of the cost of protecting other people. So then you have, and this is something, and you have to be honest. Raise your hand. Because I didn't know too much about it either. But I'm a really fast learner. So here's the story. Who would have thought that we are spending massive amounts of money to protect Japan? Japan sends us millions of cars. They pour in. I never saw anything like it. NASCAR, Brian France of NASCAR, great guy. He endorsed me. King Richard Petty endorsed me. Many of the drivers, they're great drivers. They endorsed Trump. But these cars come pouring in from Japan like you've never seen. We send them practically nothing. We send them beef. Beef! You want to see a trade imbalance? We're on the floor, they're on the ceiling. That's the imbalance. They don't want the beef because the farmers don't want the beef. Okay. So here's the story, folks. Japan. We protect Japan. So Obama sends out a general, and the general has a news conference like a month or two ago. And the general, nice guy, he said, Mr. Trump doesn't realize that Japan is paying 50% of the cost of us defending them. 50%. So I get a call from a newspaper. Mr. Trump, Japan is paying 50% of the cost. I say, why aren't they paying 100%? Why? And the reporter actually said, that's not a bad question. A lot of things, it's like NATO. You have these guys studying NATO. They're geniuses. They're great. They study NATO. Do you ever hear the expression, they can't see the forest for the trees, right? They can't see because they're so close to it. I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're so close. So when they ask me, I say, wait a minute. There's no terrorism. They don't pay. It's obsolete. NATO's going to be good. I mean, NATO's going to be fine. And these countries are going to pay. You have to be prepared to walk. And by the way, if they don't pay, bye-bye. 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 But Japan, We're paying massive amounts of subsidy to defend Japan. Now, you have the maniac over in North Korea, and who the hell knows what's going to happen there? We're going to be over here. We'll be in Toledo having another little fest because Ohio is going to see so much of me, you're going to beg me not to come back. You're going to say, Trump, oh, don't come back. Oh, I promise you, Trump, I'll vote for you. I promise, just please don't come back anymore. We've seen enough, okay? Okay, I'm kidding. I will be back alive. But we'll be in Toledo. We'll be in Toledo. We'll be in Toledo. And Japan will get maybe into a fight, terrible, with North Korea. Maybe they get into a fight. We're here. Okay, so we're now supposed to go to the other side of the world. We're going to fight. And we're subsidizing them. Now, here's the story. I'd rather do it this way because I don't want them to really rearm, but sometimes you have to say, you got to be prepared because we can't afford this. This isn't 40 years ago and 30 years ago. We're in a different world. We're going to make our country really strong again. But right now, we're vulnerable. Right now, we're foolish because we've had stupid people leading us. So here's the story. Here's the story. Do you know in our contract or treaty with Japan, if Japan gets attacked, we have to go and fight. That's probably World War III, right? We have to defend Japan. If we get attacked, Japan doesn't have to do anything. Who makes these deals? Who makes these? No, seriously. So if Japan gets attacked, we have to go and fight and we're going to save you. But if we get attacked, they don't have to do anything. This is everything. Okay. So honestly, who knew that we were subsidizing Japan and Germany? Did anybody know that, let's say 5 years ago? Raise your hand if you knew it. All right, that's a very small, that's like 5% of the audience. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel ashamed. Who the hell knew this? Germany. It's a behemoth, an economic behemoth with the Mercedes and all the things they do. They're unbelievable. And we're subsidizing Germany. Why? Now, I like to do something with Germany. I want to help them. I really would prefer they don't arm. But, at some point, maybe we have to say, hey, good. Now, how about this? Saudi Arabia. They have nothing but money. We subsidize Saudi Arabia. We pay for military bases. How about this? We pay rent. We pay rent. We pay rent to defend them. And they have nothing but think of it. Think of it. How stupid are we? Saudi Arabia has nothing but money. And you know what? Without us, in particular, without us, Saudi Arabia would be there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, maybe a month. No, they'd be there for a couple of weeks. First of all, Iran is fighting us in Yemen. And Yemen has one thing that everybody loves. That's a long border with Saudi Arabia, right? When we made the deal with Iran, why didn't we say, hey, you're fighting us in Yemen, you got to end it. You know what Kerry's answer was? It was too complicated to say that. So we're fighting with Iran in Yemen. Nobody knows what the hell's happening. But they don't want Yemen. They want the border with Saudi Arabia because they want to take over Saudi Arabia. So as long as we're there, not going to happen. But here's what happens, okay? Here's what happens. We tell them you have to pay up. They have nothing but money. Don't worry about it. I mean, this is a really, really rich, even with oil prices down. They were making, with the higher prices, $1 billion a day. And we're defending them and subsidizing. I mean, how stupid are we? Honestly, they wouldn't be there for a week. They wouldn't be there for a month. So here's what happens. We go and we say, sorry, folks, you got to help us out. We got problems. We got problems. You got to help us out. And they'll say no. And I'll say, bye-bye. Bye. Bye. And we'll get on Air Force One, which, by the way, when it landed in Saudi Arabia, the top officials didn't even greet the president. And when it landed in Cuba, the Castros and the top officials didn't even greet him at the plane. And that's the first time in the history of Air Force One where that happened. Think of it. If I would have landed in Cuba, or if I would have landed in Saudi Arabia, and the top person isn't there to pay the respect that our country deserves by being there waiting for us, I would say, pilot, head back, boy. Head back. So sad. So sad. These stories are, these stories are impossible. I'll give you another one, just a quick one. Should I do one more before I get the hell out of here? So I'll be back in 2 weeks anyway. I'll give you one more. So with the Olympics. So we wanted the Olympics desperately, right? Because this is amateur hour. So we wanted the Olympics. So we put in the bid, and I guess there are 5 countries bidding for the Olympics a number of years ago. Obama was in his first term. And we really want it, and everybody's pushing. And Obama gets on his plane and flies to Europe to meet the Olympic Committee. And I say, being a professional, oh, that means we got the Olympics. Okay. Actually, now I'm glad we don't have the Olympics. You want to know the truth, but that's another story. That's all we need now on top of everything else is an Olympics that costs 10 times more than was about. How about the overruns, huh? But if I was president, you wouldn't have any overruns. I guarantee you that. Okay. But listen. So Obama, he gets on his plane. He flies to Europe to meet the Olympic Committee. So being a professional, I say, it means you got it. Because what president would get on his big, beautiful, old, spewing engines, carbon footprint? He flies to Hawaii to play golf, then he lands and he talks about the carbon footprint is being destroyed, right? Right? Obama, this is our president. And boy, does he play a lot of golf. He plays more golf than PGA Tour players. Okay, so he gets on his plane, he flies to Europe. I say, man, that's pretty cool, because I figured they gave him a wink, meaning he called. He said, listen, just so you understand, I'm the President of the United States. Here's what I do. I'm the President of the United States. I'm representing great people. And I don't mind if you give it to somebody else. But if you are, let me know over the phone. Just a little wink. Tell me. And I won't come there and make a fool out of our country. Okay? It's okay. And if we're going to get it, I'll be there 2 days early. Okay? But just let me know. So I assumed he did that. So he goes over there. He's sitting there with these lightweights in other countries. And we come in fourth. We come in fourth out of 4. I say, what the hell happened? What happened? It's amateur hour, folks. It's amateur hour. Okay? It's amateur hour. Amateur hour. So we don't win anymore, but we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to build up our military. We're going to take care of our vets. Who's a vet? We're going to have strong borders. We're going to have our wall. We're going to have our wall. We're going to save our Second Amendment. We're going to get rid of Obamacare. We're going to bring jobs back to our country. We're going to start making things again. We're going to bring our jobs back to Toledo, Ohio. We're not going to let countries steal our companies and get rid of our jobs anymore. And if they do, there will be consequences. And nobody's going to leave. There will be consequences. And here's the line. Here's the bottom. And I do this and we have fun with it. And people like it. But I'm going to have this little group of people representing me. And they're going to call up and they're going to say, Mr. President, we're representing the people of Toledo, Ohio. And we'd like to see you, sir. I say, absolutely. Come on over to the White House. They come over to the White House. They say, Mr. President, we can't take it anymore. We're winning too much. We're not used to winning as a country. Toledo isn't used to winning. Ohio isn't used to winning. Mr. President, you're driving us crazy. Please don't win so much. And I'll say to them, I'm sorry. We're going to keep winning and winning and winning, and we're going to make America great again. I love you, Ohio. I love you.